It's the morning of September 19, 1944, at an Allied camp near Aricourt, France. A heavy, freezing drizzle is falling, and a dense fog has settled over the countryside, reducing visibility to near zero. Suddenly, a speeding jeep emerges from the whiteout. Liaison officer Captain William Dwight jumps out with a terrifying report. Enemy tanks are pushing through the nearby town of Rechicourt. The American camp is entirely exposed, and a single platoon of 4 tanks, led by Lieutenant Ed Leiper, is ready to intercept them. Look at the specific profile of the vehicle in this image. Leiper's platoon operated the M18 Hellcat, a vehicle built on the American tank destroyer doctrine. This design prioritized extreme speed and a massive 76mm gun over heavy armor. They were built to spot enemy tanks from afar, hit them hard, and relocate. This made them exceptionally vulnerable in the close-quarters combat forced by the weather. Leiper leads his 4 Hellcats out of the base, climbing toward a local ridge. The fog is so thick he has to walk in front of his own lead vehicle just to guide the driver, completely unable to see the second Hellcat in his own formation. The weather has entirely neutralized the Hellcat's core design. Without long-range visibility, their speed and superior gun are compromised. Leiper is walking his lightly armored tank destroyers into a blind gamble. Leiper summits the ridge on foot and peers over the other side. His blood runs cold. Peeking through the fog, exactly like the heavy armor and imposing barrel you see in this photo, is a German Panzer IV. It is sitting less than 30 feet away. Leiper spins around and signals his men to scatter. The lead Hellcat fires immediately. The 76mm shell strikes the Panzer head-on, triggering a massive explosion. The flash from the blast illuminates the fog for a fraction of a second, revealing a whole column of German tanks right behind it. The crews slam another shell into the breach and fire blindly into the void, turning a second Panzer into flaming scrap. But the Germans fire back. A third Panzer scores a direct hit on the mantlet of a newly arriving Hellcat, knocking it out. The surviving American tank returns the favor, destroying the third Panzer. Confronted by this sudden wall of high-velocity fire, the remaining Panzers turn their tracks and retreat into the mist. The ridge falls into an eerie, tense calm. Outgunned and blind, the Americans survived the initial clash through the mechanical superiority of their tank turrets. The Hellcats could traverse their guns and reload far faster than the heavier German machines. But Leiper can still hear the rumble of heavy engines moving around them. He and Captain Dwight leave their tanks to scout the flanks on foot. As you can see in this image of the terrain, ground-level visibility is incredibly dangerous. Suddenly, the sharp crack of infantry rifles pins them down. Armed with only handguns, the 2 officers sprint back through a hail of bullets to the safety of their tanks. When they return, the environment has shifted. The freezing weather has forced the heavy fog to sink into the low-lying valleys, suddenly leaving the Americans on the hilltop, bathed in clear visibility. Looking down from the ridge, Leiper spots a prime target, a column of 6 German Panzers rolling out from the distant tree line, completely unaware they are being watched. This spatial map shows the new tactical geometry. The 3 surviving Hellcats are positioned safely on the high ground. Down below, the German column is neatly exposed in the fog-filled valley. Leiper waits until the convoy is fully exposed, then orders his crews to fire. The first volley detonates the lead vehicle, stopping the column dead in its tracks. Before the Germans can even identify where the attack is coming from, a second volley reduces another Panzer to scrap. A third volley rips into the formation, taking out 2 more tanks and forcing the survivors to bail out of their burning machines. By utilizing aggressive foot reconnaissance and exploiting the high ground, the platoon successfully transitioned from a chaotic brawl to a disciplined doctrinal ambush. Knowing they are likely surrounded by infantry, Captain Dwight successfully radios for aerial support. A spotter plane, exactly like the one seen right here, flies overhead, directing a heavy barrage of friendly artillery onto the German positions in the valley. Leiper breathes a sigh of relief, assuming the threat is neutralized. Then he watches the spotter plane suddenly dive. Instead of hitting the valley, Then the plane fires a devastating barrage of rockets directly into the tree line right behind the exposed American tanks. Leiper screams for his crews to turn around. 3 Panzer IVs are bursting from the rear tree line, attempting a surprise flanking maneuver right into the backs of the Hellcats. The American turrets spin. At near point-blank range, the Hellcats obliterate the first 2 Panzers, but the 3rd German tank fires, striking a Hellcat's sprocket and immobilizing it. As another Hellcat moves to tow its crippled partner to safety, the Panzer fires again, hitting the rescuer directly in the turret. Finally, Leiper's last surviving tank destroyer rolls out of cover and puts a 76mm shell straight through the German hull, leaving the attackers sitting permanently in the mud. The platoon avoided a total collapse of their rear flank. The spotter plane's early warning, combined with the Hellcats' rapid response time, allowed the crews to pivot and engage a threat that should have been fatal. As dusk approaches, Leiper takes stock of his command. He has several wounded men, no ground support, and exactly 1 operational Hellcat remaining. But he refuses to abandon the hill. Knowing another attack is inevitable, Leiper orders his crews to strip the heavy 50 caliber machine guns from the roofs of their destroyed vehicles. They haul the weapons into the brush, setting up concealed defensive positions around the hilltop. The Germans spend the rest of the day probing the ridge for weaknesses. Each time the Panzergrenadiers push forward, they are met with a withering crossfire from Leiper's hidden machine guns and the lone surviving Hellcat, entirely repelling the enemy advance. By evening, Company Commander Tom Evans finally breaks through the fog with reinforcements. As Allied troops, like those pictured here, secure the area, Evans surveys the battlefield. Surrounding Leiper's position is a graveyard of 14 destroyed Panzer IVs. The stand on Hill 279 proved that a vulnerable force could dismantle a superior enemy column through situational awareness, smart terrain exploitation, and sheer tactical resilience.